these go for usually?
Just over an hour.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yep.
An hour and a bit. Unless Warren's on the show, in which case it's like a 3-hour show.
God.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you can all see this by this point. We can see it on Restream, which means YouTube will not be far behind. And there we are. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, YouTube is live. How's it going?
How's it going, everybody? Adam Steele here for Hot Pole Studios. And usually we have Liam, my co-host, on this right window here. But instead, who's this guy? Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the one and only Mr. Glenn Fricker. Ah, round of applause. The crowd went wild. Ah. Say hello, everybody in chat.
Hello, everybody in chat. How's it going?
Good. How are you, mate?
Not too bad. What's happening, Adam?
Good, lots and lots is happening. It's been a busy week. Some things we'll talk about, some things we won't. We'll keep this a music-friendly stream. Wow. But yeah, it's been a really big couple of weeks. We've been really, really busy. We've been working behind the scenes on things, have we not?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Lots of shit coming up. Yeah, just for the record, I've got Adam on my show on Saturday, so that'll be fun too.
Ooh, yes, indeed. And hopefully my friend Chris is watching because he is editing something else that we're involved with. So, yeah, we've got lots and lots coming up. So, this week, we are talking about Walrus Audio's Distortion, new guitars from Dean, savings on Sonox plugins, a teaser for Neumann, a free synth from IK Multimedia, a new digital analog head from Diesel, and of course, Behringer Corner. This is the Hop Pole Position. Roll the intro. And that's right, as the screen said there, this is brought to you by you through Patreon. So thank you to all our supporters. Check that out if you haven't already. So, shall we crack straight on with the news?
Okay.
The news. All right. Item number 1 this week. Walrus Audio Ages. Have you heard about this one?
Nope.
It's a new distortion pedal, a fuzz pedal, should I say, from Walrus Audio that has 5 whole different circuits in it. So it's got low gain and high gain, both with symmetric silicon and LED clipping. And then it's got a silicon hard clipping. So it's basically a big muff and loads of different types of fuzzes all in one box.
For $199, that's pretty reasonable.
That is decent for $199. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money for a pedal, but I don't know about you, but for me, this sounds like a real studio piece of gear rather than something.
Yeah,
for live.
exactly. This is a tweaker's pedal. That's kind of cool. That might be something you want on your pedal board for some, for one thing or another. If it does 5 different things, that's really fucking cool, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Pedals like this, and have you seen the JHS Muffaletta and their Bonsai, which are the all the big muffs and all the Tube Screamer all-in-one pedals?
Not really. I'm not much of a pedal guy. I mean, I've got a bunch of different overdrives and some gates and that kind of stuff, but that's about it.
Right. I'm not a massive pedal guy, but I'm keeping an eye on things like this because, like the JHS Bonsai, it's 8 different Tube Screamers in one pedal. God knows how he's done it. It just changes the circuit somehow, which is really clever because, I mean, you can, in the studio, just go, nope, 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 that one.
Oh, hey, Jonas is here. Hey, Jonas.
Hello. We've got, quite a lot of people in chat today, funnily enough. Yeah. I think they've turned up to see you come and talk about the news with us. Well, hey.
Yeah, I think I got there we go. It's just live. I think my chat went out of sync or something like that. There we go.
Oh, the live chat in YouTube can be a real pain. I'm using Restream for that very reason.
I would rather be here than watch Warren. Ooh, that's got sting.
We'll tell Warren you said that.
We'll tell Warren Jonas said that, not me. Jeez.
Oh, dear. So before we go any further, I should mention that if it's all right with you, Glenn, we'll probably do some questions specifically for you from my viewers after we do the news.
Sure, absolutely.
But now is not the time to get them in chat because they'll be lost. But if you think of a really good question to ask Glenn, think of that, write it down somewhere, and when it comes to that time, fire away. Just wanted to give
Indeed.
everybody a bit of a heads up in the chat. So, next thing in the news. Something that's really kind of nerdy but really interested me is there's a new guitar knob called the click knob. I don't know if you've heard about these things, but it's a really nerdy little thing. Right now I think they're only for like Stratocasters, but a lot of guitarists do things where they'll set the guitar volume a certain way to get a certain tone. And imagine you're on a busy stage live and you're really kind of searching for that, and it's really going to distract you. These things, apparently, you find that sweet spot and you press this little tab in, as you can see there.
Okay.
And it just kind of, at that point, whenever you move the volume or tone knob, whichever one you choose to put this on, it clicks at that point. And I think that's really clever. Just a subtle little thing. Why has no one done this before?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, but then, yeah, that goes to say, like, if you ever use your tone knob, I think in 30 years of playing guitar, I don't think I've ever used it once, but you go ahead. Volume knob, I understand there could be a sweet spot, especially if you don't have access to a foot switch or something like that, possibly. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's pretty anal. I mean, like, let's put it this way. I don't think anybody in your audience is ever going to notice, but then again, I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, it's funny, on tone, I don't tend to do that either, but quite often with guitar, I do leave my volume around like 6 or 7 just to leave a little headroom, especially when I'm not going for heavy tones live.
Sure. Okay.
But it's a real pain in the ass to try and get it just right when you should be focusing on the crowd and the playing and all the other more important stuff.
Sure.
So I think it's a really nice kind of thing that you could just kind of roll your little finger on the volume and it just goes click, and you go, there you go. You've not had to look away. You've not had to find it. You just, I think it's really clever. But at $21 each, it's a little steep.
Oh, I don't know. That's not terrible, but I mean, like, it's $21. Big deal.
Yeah, that's a point.
Yeah, that's one. Buy it once. You're not going to be buying another one.
That's true enough. But it's not for the whole pot, though. That's just for the top. But
oh, jeez.
It's the kind of thing, though, I suppose, if it works for you, it's money well spent.
Exactly.
I just thought that was a really weird but interesting little thing that came up in the news. Yep. So, one that may be more relevant to us and our fellow shredders, the new MD24 series from Dean. These look really kind of nice to me. I don't know about you. This is nice white and red ones.
Yeah, that looks pretty sharp. They better watch that headstock lest they get sued by Gibson.
Yes. Yeah, so the headstocks are a little... they're like a kind of a pointy Firebird, I guess. But
yeah, those are fun. Those are fine. It's like, those are cool. I like the zebras. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, so they're a basswood body, which I personally quite like. A lot of people turn their nose up at it, but I think it can have at least a really nice tone to basswood.
Does it say where they're made? It's budget shredder, so I'm
look.
Guessing somewhere in Indonesia or China.
At these price points, I would definitely imagine so, because they are...
$849, $749?
Yeah, $649, yeah.
Okay.
And they come in 2 colours, white and this nice cherry red, and they come in 2 variants, hardtail and untunable.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. It's like every year I go to NAMM, I see Floyd Rose standing there at his booth. I don't know whether to shake his hand or punch him.
If you shake his hand, does he go in and out of tune?
Yeah, gee. Like I love that the Floyd Rose. I hate it. You know what I mean? It's like not many of my studio guitars have Floyds on them. Let's just put it that way. Most of them are all hardtails because I just need to get shit done.
Yeah, I've got one guitar that's got a Floyd on it, and that actually belongs to Liam. That's not mine, so I'm not going to change it. But it's a really old Charvel with an original genuine Floyd Rose, which is actually quite nice. But all the Floyd Rose copies, terrible. But there are only a few Floyds I've ever played where you can do something like snap a string and the rest are still in tune.
Right.
And it's usually the original ones or some of the really high-end Ibanez's, actually. But by that point, by that real high-end stuff, I mean, that's real personal taste at that level, you know.
Sure.
I think you can, yeah. God, I'm going.
Oh, I like Music Addict says if you come to the studio with a Floyd, you better have that thing set up and ready to record.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to change tunings in the middle of the session? You get another guitar.
Yeah, right. That ever happens. No.
Ever.
When somebody comes in with a Floyd, it is always out, and you're going to be spending an hour or two getting it ready.
Yeah.
That's part of the job.
Hopefully in the next few months, I'll be putting this into a guitar and then just staring at the guitarist and going, nope, play this.
Yeah, I've got a Ken Susi LTD with an Evertune on it. It's wicked.
So good, isn't it? I played one at NAMM and I was just like, yep, sold. Right, okay. I've been meaning to get round to doing that. A couple of years ago, I talked to the guys from Evertune, and I've just got round to it this month, which is probably the worst time to do it, being in lockdown, because I can't just take that and the guitar to my tech and be like, yeah, do this. So, yeah, that's going to happen soon, and I'm really looking forward to that. But this...
Oh, yeah, they're fun.
Yeah.
I just finally figured out how to like, fine-tune mine. It's just, I thought it was going to be this big deal. No, go at it with, like, an Allen key. It's fine.
Yeah, the whole zone thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying that, because it's
super cool.
Yeah. That kind of thing. Or someone in chat, do you like EDM? You may be on the wrong stream here, buddy.
Yeah, do I like EDM? Oh, I don't know. I want to go see a Faderhead show. Faderhead's a buddy of mine from way back. Really enjoyed myself, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go run out and buy a bunch of EDM records or anything like that.
No, I do actually like a bit of Skrillex and a bit of Noisier on occasion, but the mood has to take me. It's not really me. Yeah,
fair enough. But bear with me 1 second.
Sure.
I'm just checking one.
Personally,
like I said, I'm just exporting my... I'm exporting my screen flow for that thing we were talking about. So
yes. We'll talk about something else after the news as well that we...
Yes.
So, moving on. This is something that really interested me. Did you ever have a Yamaha DX7? I think every producer in the world had one at some point.
Nope.
No! The 80s keyboard personified, the DX7.
Yeah, I don't really do too much keyboard stuff, so no.
I suppose people bring you USB sticks with that. What did they do in the 90s?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love recording keyboard players, because they always show up, and it's like, here's a stick. Everything's already laid out. It's good to go. Done and done. Perfect. So those are the best kind of tracks. Here, just a folder full of files. Drop them in the mix.
Hey, Scott from Chernobyl Studios is in the chat. Hey, Scott.
Oh, hey, Scott. How you doing, bud?
Yeah. Good to see you. But this news article is something that piqued my interest, because I'm not the world's best keyboard player, bit of a keyboard sound nerd.
You should really subscribe to Alex's channel then. Alex Nazla from Gear Gods, he finally started his own keyboard-centric channel.
Oh, he's finally started going on that. Fantastic.
And he just did a video where he shot out like a Roland synth versus like a software versus hardware thing, and it's pretty cool.
Right, okay. Yeah, really looking forward to that. But yeah, this struck my interest because Yamaha DX7 is the original FM synthesis keyboard. It's basically the sound of the mid-80s is one of these. But if you wanted to program them, they were an absolute pain. So it has 155 different parameters you can change on every tone. Yeah, so unless you're some absolute mastermind who knew exactly what it did and had the time and patience for it, no. But you could get these sound ROM cartridges that you could shove in it and go like, what's this guy made? Preset 3. I like this. But what these people have done is they've taken a little bit of kind of very clever artificial intelligence and essentially given you a choice, from what I'm reading here, of generating an entire cartridge's worth of sounds. It gives you 8 parameters for you to give it kind of basically roughly what you want it to sound like, and then it'll give you an entire cartridge full of variations.
Cool.
Yeah, and there are virtual DX7s, VSTs, which basically model it right the way down, so you can load this in and then go, nope, I like that one. Or you can save these to a real DX7, which I'm probably going to do at some point, just to screw around with it, just because I can.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I mean,
why not? Half the sounds of the 80s are the presets on the DX7, probably because everybody's scared of it. But
it's like one of those Nintendo hack cartridges, you know, that had like a
Yeah.
million games on.
Yeah, it's kind of like an EverDrive cartridge type thing, but for a DX7. I really like the idea of this.
Oh, fuck, why not? How much is it? What's it going to cost?
It's free, I believe.
Wow. It's just software based then.
Yeah, but if you've got a real DX7, you get hook a couple of MIDI cables up.
Sure.
You can use SysX, system exclusive messages, and send it all over.
Okay. See, for me, I mean, like, okay, I did a little bit of synth work back in the day,
Right.
like in the early 90s. Like, so when I hear FM synthesis, I think my old Sound Blaster card, which just sounded like, you know, it was just terrible. The FM synthesis on those, it was just awful.
To be fair, if you know the old Sound Blaster sound, then you pretty much know the sound of the DX7. Imagine
the DX7 sounds like a Sound Blaster, really?
Yeah, but if you remember 1983, 84, when that was like the height of fashion.
Yeah, true, I guess.
That's this.
Here in my car. That. Oh, okay.
It all came from this. I mean, it's a style.
Oh, it's awful. I did some composing of like mod files back in the 90s, you know, because I used real samples and stuff, and those were fun. And then I went and broke down and bought a Roland sound canvas in like 1993, I think.
Ooh.
And I've still got that card. It's still got one of the best tubular bell sounds ever.
Nice. Maybe you should
and I did a
sample
lot
it.
of composition on it. Yeah, I probably should. That was a great card. It's an ISA card. I actually have a.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've still got a ISA chassis kicking around with the power supply just so I can power up the card.
Wow.
I don't, run any software into it. I just control it by MIDI.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, in case I ever need it. It's rare I bring it out, but I've still got it stashed in a closet somewhere. I pull it out every once in a blue moon for that tubular bell.
That's pretty cool though. That someone goes, "I want a tubular bell," and you go, "I've got just the sound." And
yep,
go
exactly.
digging with your miner's helmet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's better than having a vintage synth. That's like, I've got something even vintager and synthier than you.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know. It's like a good buddy of mine, Rob Rose, and he does a lot of synth repairs in LA. You go into his shop. Oh, geez, wow, he's got freaking everything. Like, it's nuts, man. I should bring it. You come to LA, I should bring it by. Your mind will be blown.
I would absolutely love that. I mean, despite not being like a keyboard wizard, I was always obsessed with vintage synths, and like a lot of the time you can play me a track from the late 70s, early 80s, whatever, and I'll go, "That's a Prophet 5, that's a CS80." It's like that's the sound of an era. But
yeah. Somebody writes, anybody remember the days of the Atari 520 ST? Yes, I do.
Yes.
I remember those days. I wasn't a big MIDI guy back in those days. A couple friends of mine were. And I remember seeing some pretty good games and some pretty good graphics on those computers back in the day. And that's a real shame those never really took off because the Atari ST was a pretty beastly machine actually.
I had an Atari ST at one point as a kid. I think in the UK Ataris were much bigger than they were in the US. It was. Because wasn't it like
I'm not American. I got to keep reminding you.
Of course.
It was like early PCs, like 286s, 386s, and the Amigas were really big for a while too, and then they went under, unfortunately.
Yeah,
those were great machines too.
I remember a lot of people wanting an Amiga, but for whatever reason, the ST was the more affordable thing.
Okay, yeah, the Amigas weren't cheap. That's true too.
Yeah. And affordability really seemed to be a big deal with the UK. Did you ever have or know anyone who had a Spectrum?
Oh, that was like the sequel to the Timex Sinclair, right?
Yeah, that's right. They were the rubberized, awful.
Oh God. Those were really big in the UK. They weren't really big in North America. I had a buddy of mine who had a Timex Sinclair computer because he dug it out of a dump. He went to the dump with his dad, found this computer, grabbed it, brought it back to life, and he used that. And I was like, but I mean, like, hey, Bob Valentini, he started programming on a Timex Sinclair back in the day. That's why he learned assembly code because, they were just so underpowered. And, he saw Studio on the PC and freaking assembler. And it's like, that's some serious programming chops.
Yeah. That's incredible writing things in assembly because you just don't see it now.
No, you don't, because it's just so difficult.
Well, that's true, but I suppose the other thing is the layer of so many different types of hardware that things run on now. That would just be so difficult.
Yeah, well, it's still available. I've still got a copy. It still runs like a fucking champ.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, like, I started using that in like 2003. It was like the fastest thing you'd ever seen, though. You could just run so much stuff on it. It was like, cakewalk would chug along. You put on sauce, too. You're like, holy fuck.
Yeah. Oh man, I was running Cubase SX in 2004, and it was running like a dog then. Oh boy. And a few years later, I found Reaper, and look what happened.
And with the Spectrum, it was tape calibration every time. So yeah, you had to calibrate the tape machine.
Yep. Yeah,
on the Spectrum.
You had to make sure you were
oh.
Generally, with the Spectrum, you used just a classic hi-fi tape deck.
Yep.
It didn't have its own, like the Commodores had their own special tape deck.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, this didn't. You just used an audio one, and you had to adjust the level of the volume just right, because some tapes were louder than others.
Yep.
Oh god,
man. Yeah, I had a Commodore one, and I remember, writing in a compression program to make tape loading faster. And that was like 82, 83 for me. And then, summer of 84, I finally got a disk drive, and that just changed my world.
Ah.
But I remember, using my Commodore 64 as a drum machine, and that was pretty cool. Actually, I pull up an instance of that in my video coming out next week.
I was going to say, hang on, you use sampled drums?
Back in the day, yeah, I used it as a writing tool. Absolutely.
Superior Drummer -4.
Wasn't even close to Superior Drummer, man. It was cheesy like the FM synth, man, but it was something. You could map a song out and write something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had a Commodore 64 back in 1991, and there's a cartridge that came with it which had Terminator 2, and and it also had this Music Maker program on that could get some incredible sounds out of that SID chip, some real like ripping saw synths. I really wish I'd kept it, and I'll probably end up getting one at some point again, because, oh man, those synths were just dirty. Never mind that crabcore stuff.
Chip.
I mean, if you want real dirty synths, go back to the 90s. 80s even.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, next one. Scott's interested to get your opinion on this. What's your opinion on the Sonox plugins? Have you used any of these?
Oh, they're fucking outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something with these guys at some point, I think. I keep meeting them. I know Warren's good friends with these guys. As far as I know, the Sonic stuff is just fucking incredible. So
good stuff. Well, in that case, you'll be excited to know, for all our viewers, that most of their plugins and bundles are currently on sale. Yeah, the Elite pack, so if you're an old Pro Tools user, is 48% off. The Broadcast bundle is 30% off. Yeah, the Elite Pack Native, which is important to people like me because I don't use Pro Tools HDX cards or anything like that, is 45% off. They're still not cheap for plugins, but I mean, if they're really that good, and apparently they are, then they'll be worth their money for a lot of people. And so, yeah, I just wanted to alert our viewers to the fact that there's a hell of a deal that's going on until July 6th.
That's cool.
All the plugins run on all the major DAWs by the look of it: Pro Tools, Logic, VST 2 and 3, Mac OS and Windows. Now, if it ran on Linux, that would be a cool thing. I'm really trying to bug more developers to work on Linux.
I've never even loaded up Linux. I've never even seen it.
For a good year, the podcast was run off a Linux machine, and it just did not crash.
Okay, I was going to say, what's the big advantage of Linux? You always hear that, oh, you should do it in Linux. I'm like, I don't get it. Do you just like making things difficult? Like what? You don't like getting work done?
Yeah, absolutely. So, from something that's very definitely clear and confirmed to something that is very interesting. Neumann have teased a new product, and they won't say what it is, but they've posted 2 nice little pictures with what looks like some sort of volume knob with some very clear, probably LEDs. But this is what really surprised me is, do you know what this is? Can you not say?
It looks like a button.
Well, it's certainly a button. Smart ass.
Yep.
But
I'm sorry, it's somebody had to explain the obvious.
It's the kind of button, though. You know this type, they're quite big. That's not the kind of thing where you can fit a load of them on a panel. That's usually...
I don't know. It's probably something most of us can't afford.
Well, it is Neumann after all.
Yes. So I don't know. I'm not going to get too amped up about it.
Well, fair enough. But apparently they'll be dropping some more hints very soon. IK Multimedia are giving away their new their Oberheim simulator, Syntronic OXA, which is very interesting timing. All it costs for you is that you have to sign up, subscribe to the newsletter. So basically, you're on their mailing list at that point. So it's not really free. But the timing of this strikes me as really interesting. Do you know Arturia and their synths?
No.
Right. Arturia are one of the big boys. They have, for years and years, done like modular Moog synths, mini Moogs, loads and loads of vintage synths. They've become known as the guys to go to for that. And they have the V collection, which is their bundle of all that kind of stuff. And they've just released, last week I think it was, the Oberheim OBXA. And so IK Multimedia, I think, have answered that by going, hey, don't pay for this, have ours for free. And then maybe...
there you go.
But in IK Multimedia fashion, it'll be some sort of like custom shop deal where you get that and you get the shell and all the other models are right there in front of you. So it's like, hey, you want this one, just pay us this amount and buy this one too.
Yeah.
Clever business model. I have a couple of the models on Amplitude, because they've got the custom shop on there.
Okay.
And but I think the only one that I've got now that I've actually paid for is the Ampeg SVT, because it's a fairly reasonable facsimile of an SVT, and sometimes that's just what I need. But there's no point me paying £400 or however many dollars it is for Amplitude when all it needs is $25 thing.
Sure.
But it's that kind of nickel and dime model, isn't it? Where it's like, well, pay $20 for this, $10 for this, $8 for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how the smaller purchases do seem to drive sales. Quite a while ago, I was saying off stream that I use Premiere and Photoshop and all that kind of stuff.
Get well soon.
Yes, thank you. It never used to be the monthly subscription cloud thing. It was the master collection. If you wanted everything, you paid something like £3,000 for it, which is a hell of a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently nobody was really buying it. And then they switched to a model where it was like, actually, just pay $40 a month for it or whatever it is. And suddenly, even the guys from Adobe were telling us on the phone, it's like, we've never seen so many sales. It's never been this busy. And so they reduced the price by like 95%, and they'd never seen so much money. Crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, business models aren't always about the big ticket item.
That's true.
This could be a very clever way in. So, funnily enough, from the free or cheap to the incredibly expensive, I'm not sure whether... I think I'm excited about this. Have you seen the Diesel VHX?
No.
I hadn't either until this week. Apparently it was at NAMM, but I didn't see it.
Okay. I really got to do something with these guys. They usually chase me down the hall at damn. Glad, do something with us. I'm just like, okay. Like,
yeah. You got to check this out. The VH4 is one of my all-time favorite amp sounds, but there are not many of them. They're hand-built. Second-hand, they command very high prices. But it's the VH4 is a 4-channel amp. So it's kind of clean, slightly very crunchy, and really aggressive. It's in a way, it's kind of a precursor to the Rev Generator. They're not identical by any stretch of the imagination, but the VH4's been around since the early 90s, and that concept, I think.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Diesel representation or reputation, is second to none.
Absolutely.
They build amazing stuff.
Yes. And every time I hear one, I'm impressed. But this VHX it's got a whole digital section in it, but it is not a digital modeling amp. This is what really interests me. It's got the full analog preamp from the VH4, and it's got a full 100-watt KT77 output. Sure. So it is the analog preamp and analog power amp from a VH4, but it's also got all these effects that are digital inbuilt, and they're on loops.
Oh, okay.
And because of that, it's all relay switched. It's all inbuilt, so you can change it by a foot switch. And it'll change channels, it'll change all the effects, all that kind of stuff. It'll even change internally all the volume and bass, middle, treble, presence, all that kind of stuff as analog relays. And so you get a VH4 that's completely analog and completely digital with all this really cool stuff in. And I think if you're going to commit to a VH4, that's a very, very clever investment for some people. I mean,
sure.
Apparently, you can load impulse responses in, and you don't have to run it with a cabinet. So
nice. Yeah, it's like what is it? I got a Driftwood Purple Nightmare that's just begging for a review. It's sitting in Warren's studio in LA.
Right.
And it's got the back end. It's got the digital back end. You can load up IRs right on it, and that's really cool. I love how tube amp technology is evolving like that. Like I got a Rev G20 up there.
Yeah.
That does the exact same thing, and I think that's just awesome. It's like not everybody. I mean, like let's put it this way: not everybody's got a house or somewhere where they can crank the shit out of stuff, and that's just the reality of the situation. And amp manufacturers have pivoted with that market.
Yeah. At NAMM, I tracked a song which I'm due to release soon. We actually tracked it on the show floor with the G20.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And we got Sam from Intervals to play the rhythm guitar on it. And we just stood there.
Oh, yeah. Sam's a good buddy.
Yeah.
I love Sam.
He's really nice guy and incredibly good guitar player. That I basically played him on the headphones a song that I'd written the night before and said, hey, can you play this? And within 20 minutes, he double tracked the entire song with some really cool little bits in there. What a guy. And we're sat there with this G20, just with how noisy it is at NAMM. We couldn't really monitor anything properly, but I just stuck the headphones on, just went click, 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 click. There's a tone. Put the headphones on him and hit record. And my God, the tone. But yeah, I mean, this is really interesting. It's got USB as well as MIDI. I don't know what Columbus means. Maybe it's their own proprietary control. I don't know. But yeah, the fact this is all completely digitally switchable, very, very clever.
Sure.
All
that's
yours
awesome.
at the low price of £3,000.
€3,000. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pounds. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
so about
big L.
3,500 euros.
So here's a question. Okay, since I'm not English, maybe you can explain this to me.
Sure.
Why does the symbol for pound, which is a P, start with an L?
Oh,
Or an
I
FL.
wish I knew.
I was always curious. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, of course, then again, the dollar sign doesn't make any sense either. It's an S. Because dollar starts with S. The only one that makes any sense is the euro.
Oh, the old English currency, pounds, shillings, and pence, was L, S, and D. And you're like, where did the D come from? Yeah, stupid.
Probably by the same guy who came up with the Fahrenheit scale.
Quite likely. And last news article for the week. It's time for Behringer Corner. Every week we end up with some news article from Behringer because they are incredibly active people. And
really?
It just so happens that they crop up in the news so damn often.
Owner of Behringer enters strategic relationship with Siemens.
That's the
Hey,
one.
Beavis. He said Siemens.
Yeah. So this really interested me because this is going to be really interesting for the next 10 years.
Hold on. David Inri says, why does America call a hash a pound? Because if you start saying a hash, there's a liable you'll get jumped and shot by the American police. That's why.
Not
it's just
wrong.
safer.
So, back on track. Throwing me right off there. Cheers. So this really interests me because Siemens are really, really, really advanced. A lot of people think they just make things like washing machines, but they make some of the most advanced technological stuff in the world. And they have a fully automated factory in Penang, Malaysia, apparently. So there's no humans going there, or it's completely automated, which means that the production line can make some incredibly complicated stuff with like very tight tolerances.
Yep.
What's that going to do for the price points that Behringer can make some of this really complicated stuff at.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, Behringer really had a bad reputation there for a very long time.
Yeah.
But lately, the stuff I've been seeing they've been putting out has been outstanding. Like, I did a shootout with 5 different budget interfaces. The Behringer came in second. The first one was the Audient because it was just stellar. But the Behringer was shockingly great. Great driver support. The preamp sounded great. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, like, I just grabbed one of those Midas compressors for $250. It's a 500 series. The thing's stellar. It's like the most amazing thing on bass guitar ever for $250. You know, apparently it's got a Lundhall transformer in it. That's what somebody was saying in the comments anyway, but whatever.
Oh, Lundhall, yeah. But that's they can keep the cost down because they can do some mass.
They can ramp up production.
Yeah.
Dude, I've worked in manufacturing for 25 years. Believe me, I get it. I get what ramping up production does.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the insane thing is they're not making it anymore. I got one of the last ones.
Bizarre. They just make these runs and they go, right, we're done now. Next.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Glad I got
crazy.
one while I did.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So it's something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago is that on that exact video, you were saying the driver support was really good, and I couldn't understand it at the time because it was Behringer UMC 202, was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I thought I had the same unit, and I was like, well, but this is crap. I actually have the UM2, which is like the most basic of the basic.
Right.
So it turns out that's why. Like I ended up really scraping the bottom of the barrel just out of curiosity, just to see what the cheapest interface I could buy would do. It turns out not a great deal. Maybe that's the one where they really skimped on production, but the next level up, the one that you've got, I've been looking around and some really, really good reviews.
It shocked me by how good it was. I'm like, okay, this is a great investment. I'm like, anybody, kid in the house doesn't want to spend a lot of money, I'm going to say, I'd say get the Focusrite, get the Behringer. You can't go wrong. Just stay the hell away from the M audio stuff.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Ugh. Ugh. Whenever anyone says M audio, a little kind of memory from 10, 20 years ago goes M-powered and M-box.
Actually, I started out with a pair of Delta 1010s, man.
Actually, 1010s weren't too bad because they didn't have the preamps, right? You had to run them with something
They were
else.
just an interface.
Yeah. I did some recording with quite a big vintage analog Tascam desk in the early 2000s with 1010s. And they were quite decent, really, because they didn't try and do what they weren't capable of. Yeah.
They were just straight up converters.
Yeah.
And that was fine.
And then when we hit play, it drove that back through the tape returns on this old desk, and the old desk did the work.
Right.
And that worked quite nicely. But yeah, I mean, for what modern home and project producers need, I don't think they would cut the mustard.
I think, I did the first 2 Woods V Prairie records through Delta 1010s. And I also had an Apogee Rosetta as well, though, as my gold channel.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So, it's like I had like a nice, Vintech Dual 72 and an Apogee Rosetta. That was my channel 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, that is kind of,
Yeah, the Apogee was kind of in a slightly different league, but I mean, like, I'd use all the channels on the Delta, for like snares, drums, basically, toms, overheads, all that crap. Kick and snare would be on channel 1, 2 on the Rosetta still, though.
But I'm guessing you ran half decent preamps, or at least a kind of a mid-range desk.
No, all just external preamps. Yeah, it's like for a little while there, I had like 3 PV AMR VMP2s. Which were all tube mic pre's, which were fantastic mic preamps.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's like you do a little homework on those VMRs. I kind of our AMR stuff. It's like a company PV bought Audio Media Research. They made all this cool tube gear, and PV put them out, and they were great. Then I got in, then I got my first Neve, and then I started really getting into the whole Class A thing, Neves and APIs and that kind of stuff. So it's like kind of left I sold the AMR stuff.
Just beware, Class A is expensive, kids.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I kind of, it's like I look back and I'm like, those AMRs were really great, though. It's like I probably should have hung on to one at least, but oh well, whatever.
Yeah.
I've got a box sitting over here from Roll Music in the back here, and it's a tube preamp and compressor in 500 series.
Nice. So
Can't wait to try those.
That's the end of the news.
Okay.
So
I think we managed to stick some news in there at some point.
There was at some point. I mean, we're not exactly reporting on this kind of stuff. It's just kind of
let's shoot the breeze.
Yeah. So at this point, we quite often talk about whether we have a sponsor for the show, but at this point, I would like to talk about Glenn's course. What's Total Heavy Guitar? My brain nearly failed me at that point there.
It's like Scott's from Chernobyl Studios, except better.
Yes, pretty much.
It's a different thing. It's like Scott's is all about amp sims. Mine's all about real amps. You know what I mean? It's what I love doing, and I would lock myself in here and like spend entire days just reamping and tweaking and just figuring out what works and what doesn't and whatnot. And just after pages and pages and pages and pages of notes and years of study and all this stuff and just refine, I've kind of, distilled it all down into a 4-hour lesson. And that's called Total Heavy Guitar. It's like 18 or 19 parts and explains all kinds of stuff about, how to set an amp up, what to look for, what kind of microphone to look for. If you got a bunch of them, how to find the best speaker on a guitar cabinet, all that, how to mic your cabinet up, where to start, how to blend mics, why you should blend mics, everything pretty much you'd ever want to know about recording real amps for metal. That's why it's called Total Heavy Guitar.
Absolutely fantastic. And in chat now is a link for anyone who wants to go and get that.
Ooh, there we go.
It's now on sale as well.
Yes, it is.
I checked
it's
on the
sale.
site, and it is $97, I believe.
Yes, it is.
It should be twice that. So get it while it's cheap, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we originally were charging $197. We decided, hey, it's summertime. Let's knock some of the price off and just hopefully open this up to a whole bunch more people.
Yes, it looks like this, ladies and gentlemen. Total Heavy Guitar. Ooh. Yes. So you can meet your mentor, this guy.
Yes, and I think I'm gonna take a hint out of Scott's lesson as well, and I'm probably gonna offer free updates for life as well at this point. I think that'd be a good idea. So if you invest in, I want to add something more, you're gonna be getting free updates because I think I'm already gonna do that at one point.
Awesome.
Just want to check something. There we go. Yep. Okay, cool.
That is definitely a mix.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm exporting. I've got another lesson coming up about mixing metal and Reaper with freeware plugins, and it's already shot, and it's going to be really cool. It's 22 parts or something insane. Like this one is a beast. I don't know how long it's going to be. Might be 5 hours. Might be 6 hours. It's a pretty complicated song, and it's got everything: grand piano, a synth orchestra, a couple guitars, a whole choir of vocals. It's pretty nuts.
Got a triangle in there somewhere?
Nope, no triangle.
Then it's no good. No triangle, no good.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm sure we can get a triangle in there somewhere.
Yeah, I suppose. I can think of one spot where it would work. Yeah,
just a silent little gap. Or just bury it under a crash somewhere.
Yeah, there you go.
Bing! Hey, that crash sounded weird. Be like those early 2000s bands, like all the hardcore bands, like every drummer had one of those awful bells. The kind of Zilla bell.
I recorded a band like that. They're a rap metal band, and he went bang, and the thing would just sustain for 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh.
God,
I fucking hate you.
Yeah, went to a few shows back when I was a teenager where as soon as you heard that bell go a few times, everybody starts beating the crap out of each other. It's like, it's breakdown time. Dang, dang. Oh, geez. So, that brings us to an interesting...
Chad Young asked, real guitar and sim courses together for a savings. You know what? I will talk to the guys at Pro Mix Academy. Maybe we can put that together this week. I will see.
There you go.
I'll put that in the pipe. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, good stuff. So now it's time for the questions, and I can see a lot of them kind of building up now in chat. So questions for Glenn, because I'm here every week, and you can ask me questions every week. This is the one time we've got the amazing Glenn Fricker.
I don't know about that. You got me anyway.
Well, I got you as well, but...
Two separated births, I swear you're brothers.
I'm the young,
possibly. Who knows? Well, yeah, I am English background, so who knows? Maybe there might be a relationship there somewhere. Who knows?
Ah. How far up is that? Like many, many generations, or closer than you'd think?
2 generations. I
All
think
right.
my great grandfather was English,
That's relatively close.
and my great grandfather on my mom's side was Scottish as well. So it's definitely British Isles.
Ah, awesome.
Yeah.
Now, here's one. I've had a few people ask me to ask this one, and so we've seen videos of you week in, week out for years now, and it's been observed that over the last few years you have become very much in shape. And
Well, I don't know about in shape. I'm not really This is just over the last year, actually.
yeah, it's all relative, right? But I mean, how has that come about? Was there a certain spark? Is there a method behind what you're doing?
There's a couple incidents last year where I was like, okay, I got to do something. It's like I hurt my back at the second day of Heavy Montreal, and I wasn't even doing it. And this has been like the 3rd or 4th time I'd thrown my back out last year. Just walking along, and all of a sudden went someone, and it's just like, yow! And that started a couple years ago at Summer Nam, actually, where I'd hurt my back. And it's just like, I hated the back pain. I really hate it. I'm like, okay, it's obviously because of my weights, because my spine's being, pulled out of position, and things are trying to compensate, and it's not working. So I need to do something here. I also had an incident at a restaurant where I felt my leg tingling because I had, drank about 4 Cokes that night. And I'm just like, okay, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Right.
So I gave up sugar in January of last year of 2019. I haven't touched it since. But the incident, second day 2 of Heavy Montreal, I'm like, I got to do something. This isn't good. And I remember just getting really mad about the whole thing and just like, I got to do something. So I switched to the keto diet because I had a bunch of friends of mine who were all overweight as well, obese even. And I'd seen a couple friends like lose a crap ton of weight and be able to keep it off. And I'm like, what's the deal? And they're like, keto diet. And I'm like, okay. So talked to a few of my friends. Joseph from Witherfall, he was a big help. Jacob Hamilton Moore, he was a big help. And, my friend Al, the Yeti Bones from Windsor, he was a big help as well. And all those guys lost a shit ton of weight. And Richard Mazza from Los Angeles as well. He lost a crap ton of weight. So I'm like, okay, I got to do something here. So I switched over to keto, and it's been the easiest diet I've ever done.
And you still doing that?
Oh yeah,
good stuff.
I drink coffee with heavy cream and stevia in the morning, and just basically eat green vegetables and meat. It's pretty simple.
Green vegetables and meat. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
a real
and just stay the hell away from the potatoes, the pasta, the rice, the beans, and sugar. Sugar is an absolute no, and beer. Can't have beer either. If you want to drink, you can. I like Chardonnay, so I'll have like an occasional glass of white wine. It's very low in carbohydrates, and that's absolutely fine.
I may be doomed. Generally, when people see me on stream, I've got a beer or 2 in my hand.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And yes, I do intermittent fasting as well. Somebody said fasting is the way to go. Yes, I won't eat between say 7 p.m. and noon. So there's a good 12 to, what is that? 17-hour fast. And I'll just drink water. The big thing for me was I used to snack before bed, popcorn, ice cream, you fucking name it. Now I don't. I'll just have like fucking herbal tea.
Right.
Chernobyl's like waiting for the Woods Cakewalk Throwback Thursday session. Yeah, I got to get Cakewalk installed and extract that session.
Oof. Ooh. But yeah, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn says lose weight with herbs. Just to distill it down to far too short.
Yeah, don't snack at night. Just have like some fucking herbal tea, and then like I said, just meat and green vegetables. It's like the insane thing is it's totally changed my taste buds as well. Now I actually don't mind broccoli and Brussels sprouts because I don't do them English style, like Brussels sprouts. English style is, just boil the living shit out of them so they taste terrible, like mush. Yeah. Cut them up, throw some butter and garlic in with them and chuck them in the oven for 20 minutes, let them roast like that. Absolutely incredible.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I barely cook anything the English way because it all tastes like crap.
Yes, it does. Actually, when I went to England there in 2015, I was shocked by just how good the food in London was.
Oh, yeah. Well, you pay for
my
it, though, right?
expectations were low, and I was shocked. I'm like, wow, this is really great.
Good stuff. So let's look for another good question. Here's an interesting one from the Music Addicts. When you record a band, what order do you record the musicians in? Is it drums first or guitar first? What works for you? Or is there a template? Is it different per band?
I usually try and get the drums first, like we'll scratch guitar, do some scratch guitars, and then do the drums. I mean, like, remember the Protocol records, the drummer always went last because, he couldn't grace us with his presence till we had all done the real work. He was a great drummer, though, so I'm not going to bitch too much. But, oh, wow, Joey Sturgis Tones. Hey, Joey, how's it going?
Yeah,
or
hey, guys.
Is it actually Joey, or is it Joey Sturgis Tones? Anyway, well, whoever's there from JST, it's very nice to see you here.
Yes. It's always good. So I got a couple of questions before the show that came in on my Discord. I did ask them for them. So let's have a look. One from Danny Boy. What's your most go-to plugin right now, and why?
For drums, it's got to be the AIX stuff, because that's it's really kind of changed the way how I approach mixing drums. They're really great because they work by visual feedback, and they're a huge help, and I can get some really amazing sounds out of those plugins. So there we go. Also, the brand new PSP InfiniStrip has got to be seen to be believed. I've got a video coming out on that like next week, I'm hoping. I did a mix with that, and I was just fucking thrilled with the results I got. Short version, okay, you look at, say, like the Sheps Omni channel from Waves, you can swap out the different types of compressors and without changing the settings, and you can hear the different types, right?
Yeah.
With the InfiniStrip, you can do the same thing with the compressors, but you can also do the same thing with their EQs and their simulated preamps as well. And then you can build all kinds of crazy stacks. You're not just limited to how it's set up. You can chain stuff together. There's like 7 slots and a couple of inserts. So you can do some really crazy shit. Like I showed what I'm doing on this drum bus where I've got, one overdriven compressor, then I got it slamming into like a VCA compressor as hard as it'll go. And then I got it going through 2 more preamps right after for even more distortion. It's fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there's another one from AK in the chat here asking, I'm a bit curious as to what Glenn's favorite drum VST instrument is.
I'll let you know when somebody comes up with one.
I thought you might say something like that somehow.
Yeah. Glenn, who'd you have to tickle to get that knee you showed? Can Adam get one? I don't know. Adam will have to ask himself for himself.
Yeah, maybe making a call at some point, guys.
I don't know. We should go up there make a video called "Breaking into Neve."
Yeah. Fun fact for those who don't know, I'm in the northwest of England, and so are Neve, and it turns out that their factory is about 10 minutes drive from my house. So maybe if I just stand outside the gates every day and just be like, "Hi guys, can I have one of those preamps, please?" Okay, I'll see you at the end of the workday.
Yeah, it's like I've been working so hard on this damn lesson. I've still got this Neve sitting over on a chair. It's just like waiting to go into the rack. I haven't even had a chance to fucking install the damn thing yet.
Oh man, when you do, it's gonna be a good day.
Yep, indeed.
You have to send me your address so I can send you some party hats and poppers and stuff when it goes in. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Vale Calzada says, in a conversation I had with Thomas Lang, Clang, name drop there, nice, he recommended Audix microphones to record toms and thought it was important to invest in good overheads microphones. What do you think?
Oh, you get the best mics you can for the drums. Doesn't matter. Overheads, toms, whatever. Yeah, the Audix mics are good on toms. Like the D6s can be really good on toms, even though they're kick mics. They're really good. I've heard them used to great effect. But I prefer the Earthworks stuff myself just because they sound incredible and they're just the easiest things in the world to position because they're all on goosenecks. It was crazy, I was talking with those guys. They'd used them on jazz records. They never tried them on like rock or metal before. And I'm like, well, send me a set. Let's see what we can do. And I mic'd them up. And they're the best drum mics I've ever heard in my life.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a D6. I used to use it on kick a lot. I don't now. I use it on floor tom, funnily enough.
There you go.
It's got so much low end in the D6 that I find myself fighting it. Do you ever notice that? That the doof had some real sub in there, whereas on a floor tom, it just sounds like the gods of thunder are coming, and it's just like...
There you go.
Yeah.
It's still my favorite kick mic, I think, honestly.
See, I was never a fan of the D112 either because it always sounded a little bit tubby to me.
Okay.
But it's been used by so many people on so many good records. It can't be bad for everybody.
There you go. It's like I like the Lewitt Rex as well. The dual element kick mic. That thing's pretty great too. Yeah.
I've heard good things about that. I definitely want to try one of those.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Akiba Blade, that's Liam, who's my producer and friend, is asking, when are we going to get a Hot Pole Studios plugin? I'll let you know. Believe me, my lovely audience, you will be the first to know. So, two-part question from Nicola in chat. Who are the biggest band you've recorded and your favourite band to work with?
Well, biggest thing I ever did was that Queensryche abomination with Jeff Tate and nobody else from Queensryche. That was probably the biggest thing I've ever done. There's a whole video on that it's called That Time I Mixed Queensryche and Didn't Get Paid. There's definitely a lesson in that video.
Yes.
And as for who's my favorite band, probably, I don't know. Black Creek was a lot of fun to do. There's a lot of bands that were a lot of fun to work with. Black Creek was one of them. Perpetuate was one of them. They're the band I'm doing the lesson with. They didn't wind up in my top 10 thing, but they're getting like a whole dedicated lesson plus the song. We got like this 8-man epic called Medusa, and the video is called Mixing Metal in Reaper. And I just show how I approach mixing a track in Reaper and using some of its various capabilities to do it. And it's all done with free plugins. It's going to be super cool.
It's funny how much you can do without paid plugins, isn't it?
I was shocked actually by some of the results you got. I actually took a bit of your advice and I went and dug up those impulse responses, and I used a technique Jason Constantine uses and used that to create an artificial drum room.
Yeah, something I've done a few times. Depends on what you're given as the close mics and overheads, though, right? If you've got
I had Jackson Ward. I actually had Jackson Ward re-record the drums because the initial drum recording. Yeah, the drummer was a little busy on the cymbals. Let's just put it that way. He was still pretty green back in the day. And these days, Mike Wisnock, who was the original drummer for Perpetuate, he's been on the show numerous times. He's a fucking fantastic drummer these days. He's got a lot of finesse. But 9 years ago, not so much.
Here's an interesting one. Do you like the SM58 to mic a guitar cab?
I've done it occasionally.
Yeah, it's
not my first choice.
Not my first choice either. I don't even really like an SM57 on guitar cab, truth be told.
Yeah, it's like 57's like, sometimes it's okay. Well, that was the Eagle as landed tone, but you've heard the OC818. I've played it for you. You know what I can get it. That mic is stellar.
Absolutely. I mean, it's significantly more cost, but then when you do what we do, the reward is definitely worth it.
Sure. Oh yeah, but that's the thing. It's not just a guitar mic though. You can mic a vocalist with. You can use that on anything. Yeah, and it's going to be great. It's just one of those Swiss Army mics.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of ribbons on guitar cabs.
Not really. They tend to get a little woolly, very proximity effect heavy, very thick.
Well, a lot of them, yeah, but I'm a big Royer fan, like the R121, and I'm hoping to get an R10 at some point soon because apparently that is even more mid-forward than a 121, but it doesn't have those horrible presence
Warren
peaks.
swears by the R10.
Yeah. I've used an R101 and a 121 in the studio, and I just love it. I mean, you can shelve some low end out, but it doesn't have that horrible peak thing. But if I want the horrible peak thing, I throw a 421 on as well and blend the two.
There you go.
Happy days.
That's a solid blend, and that's the thing. The R121 is definitely a blender mic. You know what I mean? It's not like the lead mic. It's kind of like it's the fill mic.
Right. But without it, most of the guitar tones that I get always feel a little bit weak, if you know what I mean. Low mids, they just feel like there's something not there. But it's so hard to put your finger on because an EQ won't fix that. It's so hard to put your finger on. But I mean, even an SM57 and a Royer ribbon I quite like. But then for me, it's funny, the 57 I don't really like. But in combination, its bad traits kind of get taken away a bit.
Yeah, it's like my buddy Marty here in Windsor. He actually makes a special clip that holds a 57 and an R121 together.
Right.
And that's by the guy who makes the X clip. And that's pretty cool. Actually, I did a demo on that like a year ago, and it's a big time saver. So you don't have to sit there and worry about getting them perfectly in phase. This thing, you just click it in place, away you go, done.
Funnily enough, at Namas, the guys at Royal were talking about they've got a new mount system that does exactly that. So they must have seen his clip and gone, we should probably do that.
No, that is it. That is
right,
the clip.
Right.
Yeah, he did it in partnership with Royer.
Got you.
Yeah.
Right, okay. That makes more sense.
Like I said, I've demoed it on the show. He's like, oh yeah, I worked with the guys at Royer to work on this. So that was pretty cool.
That is very cool because I held one in my hand at NAMM and I was like, this is nice. I want one of these.
Small fucking world, eh?
Yeah, tell me about it. And the guy John from Royer, I interviewed him, and it was like looking in a mirror, but he had grey hair. It was the weirdest thing in the world.
It's like Dave Royer's favorite sticker in the world is "Stop cupping the mic, dumbass."
Yeah. The world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah, perfect tone. SM57 to mic a Spider 3.
Oh yeah.
That's how you get that.
It's like the guitar equivalent of glass shattering.
Okay, 2 more questions and then we'll wrap this up. Quick one. Do you know the name of Alex Nasler's keyboard channel? Because I know.
Yes, it's Alex Nasler.
Oh, it's literally Alex Nasler. Okay.
Just go to Alex Nasler.
Okay. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Just look on YouTube for Alex Nasler.
Yep.
And if you were recording an album right now, would you mic the cabs, or would you send the amp signal to the desk and use one of your IR packs?
That depends. What cabinet's available, what mics are available, and because that's a great thing. I mean, like the IRs are definitely going to get me something awesome.
Yes.
So it's hard to say. I'd probably do both. You know what I mean? Just so I've got options.
It's funny. A lot of engineers are doing things now where they've got options. Like, I saw a rig rundown recently of Slipknot's live setup, and they have always used ISO cabs, but now they've got the 2 Notes Torpedo live in the rack, which is their cabinet emulation and load box. And so they're getting that so that they can choose between them live. So if one's muffled or there's an issue, they can just switch. I thought that was really clever.
Oh, that's killer. Yeah, sure. It's like, I mean, like my IR pack's great. I'm like, here's full disclosure. I'm one of the owners of Lancaster Audio, so I've got access to the entire library. So if something's not happening with how I've got a cabinet mic, I've got options. You know what I mean? I can just dial something in, drop of a hat, and be good to go. And it's not necessarily going to be one of my tones. I mean, like, I can use one of Bob's or Cameron's or Warren's or something, like that. Like Cameron Webb did like the last 6 Motorhead records, and the dude knows how to mic a cab. But we also got Bob Marlette, who did, like John 5 and some Black Sabbath and shit. So yeah, we've got all Bob's cabs. Bob's cab setup is amazing. So yeah, there's some cool options, man.
Yeah, man. All right, last question to round this out. This one's probably a good one to end on. What is your guilty pleasure gear?
Guilty pleasure gear?
Yeah, something that's a bit weird or a bit like, eesh. Like, I can give you an
example. I was going to say, yeah.
Well, if you want to have a look around, I've got an example
definitely
of
got
mine.
Some guilty pleasure animes, but I don't know about guilty pleasure gear.
Well, my guilty pleasure gear is I have like a $20 silver clone pedal, one of those little mini things that's cheap as you like.
All right.
Stick that in front of my JCM 800. My God, watch the thunder. But you look at it and you go, this cheap $20 piece of crap pedal, that's going to be terrible. And you turn it on and you're like, whoa!
Yeah. Well, up until very recently, I was doing my guitars through that $30 Behringer mixer, and blending the tones of the mics right on the board, then into the thing. And I did a whole video on that called "The Greatest Guitar Miking Trick I Ever Learned." That was inspired by Ulrich Wild. I was over at his place, and he's got all this stellar gear, and he's got this really shitty Behringer mixer in his rack. And I'm like, "What's up with that?" He's like, "Oh, we run the guitars through that." Then we learned the whole story about how one of the keys to Dimebag's guitar sound was using a really shitty Mackie mixer, a little 4-channel.
Yeah.
And it's like Ulrich said the best. He's like, dude, we're not doing Celine Dion. So when the guys on Gear Sluts go on and 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 on about preamps, tell them to shut the fuck up because they don't know what they're talking about. Something else I got. You want to talk about shitty little pedals? Lee Daffron from the fretboard.co.uk. I don't know if you know Lee or not. He's a good dude. Don't. And he sent me this. This is the Golden Horse.
That's exactly what I was talking about. My pedal is the Silver Horse.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Yeah, because this thing's great. I put this in front of the Synergy Plexi, and it just roars to life.
It's exactly
this thing
that.
is
It's funny,
hysterical.
yeah. The only difference with the Silverhorse is it's got a switch that takes a bit of the distortion out the circuit, so it's even cleaner for the boost. That's it. That's the whole. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
But yeah,
MoskyAudio.com. Yeah, Lee sent this to me. He's like, dude, you got to check this out. I'm like, fuck, this is great.
yeah, that's exactly the one I've got, and it's
That is
just,
hysterical.
yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah,
Best name ever. The Golden Horse. That's so rock and roll. You know somebody from China came up with that. Oh, they'll love this.
That's
Golden Horse.
real English right there. Okay, so that concludes today's podcast. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Glenn, for coming in, being our special guest.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm just like to say thanks for everyone for sticking around. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. On the astronomically low chance that you've not seen Glenn before, check him out at Spectre Sound Studios, but the chances are that it's the other way around and you've not seen me before, which is absolutely fine. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Hot Pole Position, which is a weekly podcast. We'll be back at 8 p.m. UK time next week. And we've got more videos.
Be back next week and assume the position.
Absolutely. Assume the position. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Glenn Fricker, thank you so much. And we'll see the rest of you next week. Goodbye.